Soldano 100 watt SLO came in. Owner says power's up, no sound. The HT fuse is well and truly smoked. Now sometimes fuses just fail, but when they fail this dramatically, something caused it. And my first inclination was output tubes, the most likely cause. Second, after that, sometimes a screen grid resistor. But as I was pulling the amp out, I noticed this discoloration here. Let's try to get this focus and for the lighting to work. So maybe if I tilt it back. See that melted insulation there? Yeah, that wire has been shorting to the bell cover of this transformer, the output transformer. So let me look on the inside real quick. Everything inside looks pretty much brand new, factory fresh. Not shown on camera, but I checked those screen grid resistors. They all measure okay. Nothing visibly is off, but those wires are shorting against that frame on the bell cover. So I'm going to pull that bell cover off and take a look and see if that output transformer is salvageable, maybe with some added insulation, or whether it needs to be replaced. And I need to call the owner and see if he was using this with an attenuator or a dummy load or something. Dummy loads and attenuators are not all built the same, and I would trust this with certain ones. I would not trust this with, say, a Weber or a Rockman or a Marshall power brake, etc., etc. I would trust this with a THD or a SUR or the new UA aux. But anyway, let me see what's going on inside the transformer and see if it's a permanent damage or whether something just needs some new insulation. Let's cross our fingers on that. It's an expensive transformer if we need to replace it. All right, after fighting with a lot of pot metal screws and some intensely shellacked caps nuts, I got this bell cover off this end, and these screws are nothing special. I can replace these with some better metal Phillips heads, and I have caps nuts. So putting this back together won't be a problem. And what I can see now with that bell cover off, that focus, the burns are not all the way through the insulation. It was just charring up against that spot there where there's just a little bit of exposed metal. So I'm going to put the tubes back in the amp and see if the amp works without that cover in place. And I will gently move these wires to make sure there aren't any shorts outside that cover. And if all that works, I think I can probably, let's see if I can demonstrate this for you guys, probably find the grommet that fits that opening there. I just kind of cut it and glue it in place and get a big rubber grommet around that metal edge so that cannot happen again, and see if that does the trick. Because if that's all that it takes to make this amp work another 20 years, that's a lot less expensive than changing that iron. Now, once I know whether that will work or not, I will put this to the owner as to whether he's happy with this very pragmatic repair, or whether he just does not trust this because it could potentially happen again, and wants me to replace the iron. He has a couple of Soldanos, he loves them, but I think if I can put a grommet on this and make that short and never come back, he'll probably be very happy. So let's see what happens. All right, you can just see that rubber grommet I added. It's super glued around that U-shaped opening, and I've gone in there and moved all those wires, and I think that short has been eliminated. So I think, unless the owner wants me to replace it just to make 1,000% sure, that instead of having to replace this output transformer, I'm just going to have to replace these 4 screws, which are about $1.50 if I splurge. So I think I'll get a good feeling from this one, and the owner will get back one of his beloved very loud amps without the magic smoke being set free, never to be seen again. One other thing that occurred to me after filming that, and I'll have to test this, it's possible that instead of that damage being caused by an abrasion in that metal hole, that it's possible that this transformer was just getting too hot and that it was melting through those wires. And that little bit of rough area on the metal might have been fine from the factory and not abraded the wires, but the wire insulation melted because the transformer got too hot. And at that point, once the insulation melted and it did that short, which caused all the soot here, that's what zapped that bit of metal on the frame. Now, if it's not getting excessively hot in testing tomorrow, that grommet that I put in there will not only protect it from abrasion, but it'll also make sure that there's no contact between the insulation on the wire, the plastic insulation, which should be rated to 600 degrees, and the transformer. But once I get this bolted all the way back together tomorrow, I'm going to let it run for several hours and see how warm it gets. Now, a transformer can normally get hot to the point where it is uncomfortable to keep your hand on it for more than a few seconds. But you should be able to keep your hand on an output transformer this far from the power transformer for a good long while. So if this thing's getting hot enough that I think there might be any chance of that insulation melting, then it's bad news for the owner. We will need to change this out. But I just want to point this out before I say, hey, aren't I clever? I did the thing and saved him some money. It's possible that tomorrow I'll find that this thing just gets too warm. But that is a problem for literally another day. La-di-dee, la-di-da.